Welcome to Podcetera. Each episode is a journey of discovery as we delve into topics that pique our curiosity and yours. We feature in-depth interviews with fascinating individuals who have extraordinary stories to share.
I'm Renee Lego.
And I'm Joelle Ludovich. And this
is Podcetera. Welcome, actor, director, and producer extraordinaire, Fred Thomas Jr. to Podcetera.
What's up, my peoples, my Philly folks? What's up?
As they say, it's been a minute, and I think for us, it's been more than 1 minute.
Yeah, too long.
It's been many minutes.
Too long.
We've had a couple of other Philly reunions on the show, and with each one, it feels like coming home again.
Of course.
Seeing a really familiar, friendly face who you really was a great part of your life at one point in time.
Of course.
Fred, you're part of that crew.
Oh,
I consider you
thank you, guys.
A good friend. So
thank you.
Even though we don't see each other very often.
I know.
Because you are more important now.
Oh, please. Please. I wish.
I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Man, cut it out.
It's just Fred. Come on, man.
It's just Fred.
Just okay.
Fred.
So we'll just call you just Fred
Just
for the rest
Fred.
of the show.
When he jumped out of the car, he's like, "It's Fred." It's
Just
Fred.
Yeah, when I ran into
Still remember
Joelle.
that.
Yeah, at the gas station.
How long ago was that?
Time. South
At
Philly. Long
least
time ago.
well, yeah, in the teens.
Or 20s.
Yeah, 20s actually, yeah. See, people get to guessing your age when you say the 20s and they start doing the math. So I usually just try to throw a little fake out,
I'm up there in age. Don't worry.
All good.
It's all good.
Like fine wine.
All right.
Exactly. I will say we do get better, right?
Yes.
Very
yes,
fine.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
fine.
Yes. Wise.
Exactly. So I think there's no better way to start the interview other than saying, "What's up?"
What's
Fred? I just wanted to get you to do it. And you
Okay.
looked at me like, what is she?
Well-
She doesn't even sound right.
I think that's like maybe the first time we've ever had that exchange, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
crazy. As long as I've been knowing you, that's the first
Yeah.
time we've ever had that exchange. It's crazy.
And you take a minute.
Let me tell you something. You wouldn't even understand. I could go on for days about my encounters with people. And,
We're going to talk about that. That's actually, I want to know.
Oh my gosh.
You've got some stories. You don't have to give names,
Okay.
though.
Okay.
No names.
Most people, I didn't even know their names. I'm standing at the urinal, going to the bathroom, and a drunk guy coming over. Hey man, do it. Then they'll do it like, what is that? And then just follow you saying what's up all the way out the back. I love that guy. Yeah. So.
Let me just set a little history because there's probably some younger folks out there who don't know what we're talking about. So let me just bring them up to speed. Since I welcomed you with the What's Up, let's start there. You are about to celebrate a special anniversary, the 25th anniversary of the Budweiser What's Up Super Bowl commercial campaign, and that is next year. And before you tell us more about it, we're going to remind everybody what it was. Unless you were living underground, most of us Gen Xers remember the Budweiser What's Up commercial that ran from 99 to 2002. The first spot aired on Monday Night Football in December of 99. And the campaign became a global phenomenon and one of the most popular and most memorable campaigns in history. It was one of the first campaigns to go viral. So you were viral before viral was viral.
That's right. That's right.
And parodies of this campaign appeared on TV shows, movies, and on the internet. So if you're listening and you're like, what is this? Go on, check it out, and you'll be caught up. I was reading in Reddit. There's a thread dedicated to it.
Oh, really?
And someone wrote, quote, "It's difficult to overstate how deeply this saturated youth culture." So with that in mind and that long explanation, tell us what it was like to be involved in that project and how it came to be.
Yeah, my buddy Charles Stone, filmmaker, director, he's the one who came up with the concept. He created the idea and the concept based off of how we kind of talk to each other as friends. guys and girls, everybody got to have it. They have their own little thing and how they communicate with their crew. And so he needed a narrative piece on his director's reel because he had done a ton of music videos and he was trying to put together a narrative piece for his reel. So he called us up and he said, hey, I got this idea, come, I'm gonna shoot it, take a couple hours, and just chill out and hang out and just knock this out. And, I appreciate it. So I went up to New York and went up to Paul's house because Paul, he's also in the commercial. Went up to his house and it was basically just guys on the phone, just kind of how we talk to each other. And we have our own little ways of how we greet each other every time we see each other. And one of the ways was just got little different variations of it. So Charles said, yeah, here it is, the little script, put your thing on it, do what you do, be you, and yeah, that was kind of it. We hung out and it's Paul's brother, Terry, it was their house. They were both in as well. So maybe like a year go by, I went back to waiting tables. I was in grad school at Temple and I was waiting tables at Houlihan's on City Line Avenue, as well as quite a few other jobs. I think I was working with you guys at the time as well too, over at the studio. And yeah, Charles calls and he's like, hey, Budweiser wants to turn this thing that I shot into a commercial. They saw it, an ad agency, DDB Chicago, saw it in Short Film Festival, and they think they can maybe try to do something with it. The only thing is you have to audition. So I'm like, wait a minute, I got to audition to play me?
Okay, I didn't know that part.
It's like, wait a minute, I got to audition to play me? So, it was like, okay.
Leave it to the ad agencies, right?
Even
exactly.
still,
Still, right. So I go up to New York again. And when I get there, it's the guys, we all, pounding each other, hanging out, but we're in a room full of like a bunch of other guys. And it was very multicultural. You can hear the ad agency and Charles and I guess the Bud reps on the other side of the wall. So when they gave out the the sides to the script, it would say, guy one, we'll go with that. So if you don't know how we interact with each other, you just see, wah. So we're hearing all kind of like different variations of it. And we're laughing
boy.
and giggling. They're casting and butchering it. They call us in, we go in and, they see that the chemistry is there with the crew. So they're like, okay, cool. At the end of, I guess, the audition sessions, they realize that, they're like, yo, this is not about being multicultural. It's about friendship and it's about the essence of friendship. And clearly the essence is with these guys. So let's just go with the original crew. And that's how that kind of happened. We made some changes. Paul's brother wasn't in it, Terry. We switched him out. And Porter Rock, who came to the audition, he knew Charles. And then Scott, who's a childhood friend of Charles, and Paul and Terry also came on board. And we shot the original commercial that went and turned into 17 different spots. And we toured the country, going to different Budweiser events, going to the All-Star games, Super Bowl. We did a whole campaign over in England, Ireland, Scotland, Amsterdam. Yeah, it just took off in TV shows, Oprah, Jay Leno, pretty much anything that was kind of on the air at that particular time. Like we did some sort of interview for it.
How did that eventually impact your career from there? And do you have any fun stories from being on the road?
Oh my gosh. So let me see. How did it impact my career? I was actually on my way out to Los Angeles, where I am now. I had just graduated from Temple with my MFA, and I was packed up and ready to roll, and sort of kind of everything kind of happened at the same time. So this catapulted me to Los Angeles. And man, it was crazy. There's a lot of stories, but I guess just meeting so many iconic people, like, being in London and hanging out in a bar with like, Marilyn Manson and Jamiroquai and Heidi Klum. And then we're here back in the States and you'll see like, for instance, oh, I got one where we did the Today Show. And that's when Katie Couric was still on the show at this particular time. And, that was like one of our first interviews. And you don't know how people are going to receive you. You don't know if they know you. You don't know if it's just like, oh, You don't meet them till you sit down and they start engaging. But we're walking down the hallway and Katie's coming out of her dressing room at the same time. And she sees us and she just goes, "What's up?" And then she like runs and like hugs us and it was kind of like, that sort of set the tone pretty much for like everyone we met. That's how we were received. Same thing. Jay Leno came into the dressing room and he said, "Yo, I never usually come to meet guests, but I wanted to come and hang out with you guys before the show, just kind of say what's up, get comfortable." And then he was like, "Well, Jay, let me just tell you, your green rooms are shitty." Jay goes, "No, this is just the one we get the black guys."
No, I come right back.
And we were like, "Oh," so we already knew. Yeah. So it just set the tone.
Did you have any groupies who would follow you to gigs?
Yeah, it was.
Bar groupies?
You know what? I kind of get the rock and roll lifestyle now. We would, go up on stage at times and do some Bud things and, be like, women like, "Hey, sign here and sign my boob and sign." And we were like, okay, like this is a little too much. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And yeah, just wherever we would go, it would just be just mobs of people just waiting for us because they would set up. Budweiser would have different events per city. Say we would go to like a TGI Fridays or like some sort of like popular restaurant in the area or whatever accounts that Budweiser had at different bars and clubs. We were the grand marshals of the parade at the Kentucky Derby. I think it was us and David Allen Greer. So tons of stories, tons of amazing people and different encounters. And yeah, we just had a ton of fun with it and learned a lot about the business, about the behind the scenes of the politics of the business, because, we were like three black guys and Budweiser was a beer that was, pretty much not known for a lot of black people drinking it. So it was interesting that Bud took that chance to say like, "Hey, it's not about that. It's about friendship," which is what, we promote. Pastime, enjoying yourself, leisure.
I wonder how that campaign did for Budweiser, how much money that generated. Do you know?
I was told that we hung out with a lot of the higher ups. We hung out with August Bush IV. We met August Bush himself several times. Anytime we was in St. Louis, he would make sure he was there to see us and hang out and just, greet us and whatnot.
I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
I knew they own it. Renee is on it. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody's posting this in August 2023 on LinkedIn, actually. So
Wow.
99 was the launch of the Whassup generation. Their sales grew by 2.4 million barrels. And it was estimated that Whassup generated 20 million in free publicity.
Wow. And they had told me something like 9 million barrels of beer worldwide. Yeah, it was crazy.
Looking at it, from a consumer perspective, and of course I know you,
Mhm.
so it's different. When I look at the commercial, I think there's my friend and
Right.
he's killing it,
Mhm.
whatever.
Right.
But I think part of why it resonated was, one, like you said, these people look like they know each other in real life. It was real.
Right.
And two, it was joyous.
Mhm.
It was a really fun commercial that just like premise was really simple.
Mhm.
And I think those two things made it as big as it was.
Yeah, definitely agree.
And I'm sure ad students, marketing students studied it.
Yeah, we would meet people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're studying your campaign in my class," or we're doing like a breakdown of how your campaign, affected marketability and things of that nature. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Right. And so did they capture more of the African American community because of that commercial and age group, right? Because it was a
Mm.
younger demographic
Yeah.
and all of that stuff kind of like intertwined in that messaging. But how much creatively did Budweiser have in the actual commercial? Did they change a lot of what you guys did or
No, they
not?
changed nothing. The original short is the exact replica of the first commercial. Of course, because of longevity, and I guess the next thing was them trying to figure out what was going to be next. And I think we shot one called Girlfriend, where one of the guys is with his girlfriend, and we're at the bar. We're trying to figure out where he is. And we shot another one where I think we're at the game. And the ad agency said they were sitting out at a restaurant after one of the shoots, and they was at a sushi bar, and they're sitting there having dinner, and the waiter comes up and he goes, "Wasabi?" And they said they just all looked around the table and was like, "Ah!"
I think I saw that one, yeah.
And that's how the Whassup Wasabi commercial was started, by them just sitting there after a shoot, and the guy walked up and he just said wasabi, and it just clicked with all of them at the table, and that became a spot. Things just kind of was built off of things like that. Yeah.
Earlier, we mentioned Philadelphia.
Mhm.
So, can you share what it was like growing up in Philly and how that path led you to becoming an Army Reserve combat medic? Did I read that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
As combat medic, when you're a kid, you don't know the extent of politics and things going on in the city at the time when you're young. You just know you're out having fun, having a good time. Grew up in a blue collar neighborhood in South Philadelphia. Little rough around the edges here and there, but I was kind of the guy that, knew a ton of people in the neighborhood. I had cousins who a lot of people respected and knew as well. Community. We played basketball, we rode bikes, we played outside played outside. I haven't seen kids play outside in a long time. And they just don't do it no more, but we played outside for hours, and community folks looked out for each other. People watched your kids from sitting on the steps to make sure the kids were cool. So, wherever I went in the neighborhood, relatively I was on good behavior because somebody knew me in wherever I was. And at that time, coming, into my teenage years, hip hop was just growing in Philadelphia. So I was into that mix, hanging on the corners with the guys rapping and, wearing all the latest gear and the Kango hats and the Adidas and the Lees and the breakdancing and the rapping and the DJing and going to the little house parties. And so
That was the best generation.
I
hands
was
down,
gonna
hands
say,
down,
Growing up in the 80s,
hands down. Yeah, hands down.
it's got to be tough now, with
Right.
COVID and,
Yeah, yeah.
going through recessions, but that's never going to happen again.
No, 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 no.
That's a special time that only we
Yeah,
get.
that was a very special time.
Fred, like you're talking about it, like you miss it.
Yeah.
Because I was just talking to my students recently about this too, because they're kind of like that. What was it like without cell phones, right? And I would tell them,
Right.
yeah, and I get excited about the time, that we grew up in. It just
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a really awesome time. There was a lot going on and musically,
Yep.
and entertainment and
Mhm.
TV and film.
Yeah.
Like it was just like the best,
Yeah.
I think.
Reagan wasn't.
No,
Well,
That's,
that's the
there's
only
always a dark
thing,
side.
but
But everything else was countering that.
Or
Yeah.
Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
our culture, youth culture was countering
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that's how a lot of things came to be because of that.
Yeah.
So, especially the music.
It sets you up in a different way for your life. We had to use our imagination more. We had to depend on ourselves more. We had to work for everything we got. There wasn't everybody gets a prize,
Right. Right.
everybody places.
Right.
Those things didn't exist, and we couldn't sit around all day. If we sat in our room, we'd be in trouble.
You'd be in trouble. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
Yeah.
sitting in our room playing a video game for 14 hours,
Yeah.
that would
It
never
wasn't
happen.
happening.
Going to
No.
your room in our day was like you're punished.
Right.
Right? Like if you're in your room, you did something wrong. You screwed up somewhere.
Exactly. And even when we did
Yeah.
get, when we had Atari and Sega Genesis and all that, you didn't spend just long amounts of hours playing video games. You played a few hours with your friends and then you went back outside. We didn't get caught up. We're the generation that started it, and we didn't really get caught up in it as much as the generation today. I mean, I know guys, one dude I know said he just played. It's like, yeah, I played that game. Man, I think I put 10 hours in the other day on that game. I was like, 10 hours on a video game. And he hadn't even finished it. So it was like,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I told my students, I said, Stranger Things, that was our generation. That
Yeah,
generation.
yeah. You're right.
It captured that pretty well.
There's a reason it looks so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was.
And why it is so cool. Exactly.
It is. Okay.
Exactly. Let's take you back to becoming an Army Reserve combat medic. I had no idea. When was that? Before we met you or during?
I think I was just ending my time that I'd served when I kind of met you guys. I think around that time I had just completed the cycle length of time. And the majority of, men in my family are servicemen, served for the country. And it was just a thing. I was like, okay, it'd be interesting to do. All the men in the family did it. You're watching the commercials, be all you can be. And you can do more before 9 a.m. for most people do all day. And you get the GI Bill and blah, 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 blah. And then when you sign up, you realize, oh, there's other things that come along with that. So, yeah, let me see. My basic training was in Texas, El Paso, Texas, Fort Bliss. And it was hot and long and very, at that time, there wasn't too much going on. They were just training soldiers. So it's not like you were preparing for a war, so it was a very quiet base. And from there, I wind up being a combat medic. So you had to go to medical school. And that was at Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio. I think it was a couple hours away. It was a bus ride. Some after you graduated, people went infantry, some people went intelligence, different places, but you went wherever your specialty was. And the only reason I picked medicine because I was always interested in medicine. I was like, at some point in time, I'm gonna be a doctor or in medicine or something. And it just so happened that I scored high in math, which I was surprised, on the test. And that was one of the options. Well, I figured if it'd be the time to go to Army Medical School, this be a great time. So when you go, you're pretty much equivalent to like a paramedic after you get out. So we knew how to do shots and stitches, and we used to sit in class when we learned how to put IVs in each other's arm. We used to sit in class with IVs in our arm just to kind of get ourselves rejuvenated from because we fall asleep. It was long days because everything is condensed into like an 8-week course. It was amazing. And got out and was able to take advantage of the GI Bill. And I did most of my once a month training at Jefferson Hospital. And I think I was at Pennsylvania Hospital as well. And that's where you would go once a month to do the training. And that's for 8 years.
Wow.
But it was good. Yeah. Oh, and also I learned years later that Fort Bliss was one of the bases where they trained Black soldiers for like World War I and World War II. They would send them to Fort Bliss. I had never known that. One day doing some research and I was like, wait a minute, Fort Bliss. Yeah, it was like one of the bases that would train Black soldiers.
Can you give us an overview of some of the highlights of your career from your work in film and television, theater, to your contributions as a mentor and public speaker?
I wrote, directed, and produced a play called 12 by 9, which was about 3 men who had to share a prison cell due to a fire in the prison. And I had been doing plays, writing plays for a while. I think the first play I wrote was at Lincoln University because I went to Lincoln University undergrad and went to Temple grad. And I did a play there called Reminiscences of Black Love. It was a musical. Yeah, wrote it and I had a choreographer and arranged the dances and everything. And it went over pretty well. Never traveled, but it stayed on campus. And then I started working with a producer in Philadelphia by the name of Don Welch and started doing his plays, producing. I actually started doing lights and things of that nature and some small roles as an actor in his plays. And then from there, learning the ropes of how it was done, I started producing some of his plays, which then was like, all right, well, I can start doing my stuff. I had some stories that I wanted to get out, and 12 by 9 was one of the stories just based off of, it just kind of came through just, being a Black man in Hollywood and, just going through things. And the 3 guys, the characters are kind of based off of, we're dealing with relationship issues with our girlfriends. And it just felt like a lot of life was just on our shoulders. That play kind of came out of that. Yeah, we put up a ton of shows and we're nominated for 7 NAACP Theatre Awards. And I won 3, Best Producer, Best Director, and Best Playwright.
I read about that. So congrats on that. Yeah.
Thank you. And was able to take it to Atlanta, Philadelphia. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many times we ran the show in LA. So that kind of started some things and that led to me being able to do a piece called Ladies Book Club that I wrote for stage that was kind of shot for like a TV movie of the week, as well as, other things. And so first coming out to LA as an actor and filmmaker, thank goodness for Temple, you learn everything. So when you come out here, it's not that you automatically going to work no matter whether you did a Budweiser commercial or whether you know, or not. You gotta, you pay your dues because there was some politics with that. Like I didn't know nothing about the business. I just knew I just wanted to make films and wanted to act. So when you come out here and you learn about the management and agents and all of that, it's like, oh, okay. So wait a minute, I need a commercial agent so I can go in commercials. So I need a theatrical agent so I can go do stage and TV. Oh, I need a what else? A agent. Oh, wait a minute. So I can't. If I did too many commercials, I might not get called out because my face is too recognizable. So this is like, whoa, wait a minute. So like there's no training for that. At least it wasn't back then, but you can find anything now. But you kind of learn a lot of this stuff on your feet. And my thing was just like, I'm not one to sit around and wait for things to happen. So I just kind of dived in and just started working on different productions. I was able to work with entertainment for a number of years, doing their production coordinator for their red carpet events. I did like the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, you name it. And during that time, I had to hire PAs and things of that nature. So I got, I said, this is a good way to kind of get young folks exposed to the industry to see how the inner workings of this place works. Because, you just hear about being an actor, you just hear about being a director or, producer, and there's so many parts to it. So I started reaching out to folks I knew who maybe had a son or daughter that wanted to learn the business. And if there was an opportunity for me to kind of bring them on and hire them, I would do that. And so that's how that led to that, which then sort of led to some of the public speaking because I was reconnecting with people from Lincoln University, reconnecting with people from Temple, professors saying like, oh, yo, you're in town. Can you come speak at my class? And then it just kind of went from, people recommended me like, oh, I spoke at the University of Houston a couple years ago because a gentleman I met on a set, he was a producer and he was fascinated with my journey. And he contacted the African American History Department at University of Houston and they called me in to talk about film and reality TV. And reality TV had just started picking up at that particular time. I think I had worked on like R&B Divas or something of that nature, cutting it in the ATL, which was another reality show. Funny thing about working in reality back then, you just kind of found yourself working in it. No one just went to, it was like, yo, we're putting this thing together. You can do this. We need you here. People were still trying to figure out the guidelines of it and how to formulate it. And to think that where it is now, there's a standard, there's a reality treatment, there's a structure. It's so interesting because back then it was kind of like you was flying at the seat of your pants and we'll figure it out as we go because of those sort of experiences and, areas I was working in, it kind of just shifted over as well to guest speaking.
You worked in reality TV. Can you tell us what it was like going from writing and directing a play to becoming part of the drama of reality TV?
If you're going on reality TV, you may have an intention, but it's reality. Things happen and you
Or
get
is it?
pulled in, right? It was really interesting because, I was called on the Diva show in particular to do a job, which was direct a play with the women on the show. And just from, I guess, things that was kind of going on before I got there, I got pulled in to that storyline. And then my relationship with them became part of the storyline. And us now trying to figure out how to go on this journey to do this play because now there were all these other obstacles in front of us. I mean, I didn't want to get pulled into the story that way. I just kind of wanted to be, they told me I was going to be on screen, the guy in the background more so, but not part of the storyline. But like I said, it happened. But it did work its way out because the artists, they were, a few of them, they were the first time ever going on stage. Basically, they just didn't want to do a play with like scripted dialogue, something narrative or fictional. They wanted to talk about themselves and their lives. Yeah, I would sit with them and we would have these like deep conversations. And out of those conversations, we built monologues for them to then perform as well as music. We had a composer, and he had some nice little tunes that he had created. And because we're working with some legendary singers, the whole music thing can be tricky. Oh, all right. Oh, we need a song. Oh, I'm not doing that. Would you do that? Then she got to sing. And that it was a lot of like back and forth. It was kind of like, yo, we're in a deadline. We got to come up with something. We need a theme song for the show. And so one night I just came up with the theme song. I just hummed it and made up the words. And I brought it to the musical director and I hummed it and I sang it. And then I gave it to him on tape. And he was like, okay, I got it. He came back the next day and with his band, he brought in the boom, 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 boom. I was like, yo. And then the ladies came in. And next thing I know, they were singing a song I wrote and they performed it in the opening of the show. Yeah. And so that was Little Mo, Claudette, Shantae Moore, and Michelet.
Michelet,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
Michelet. Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah. So we had a good time. We had a lot of fun. And we did the show live. The first time we did the show from beginning to end, even as a rehearsal, was the first time we went live. And TV One liked it so much. It had started off being the finale of the season, but because they liked it so much and it was so well received, that they wound up bringing the play back for its own night. And I thought that was so dope. That was the highest honor right there.
And I learned another thing about you. You wrote a song. Seriously, you are the Renaissance man, right?
Oh, hey, under pressure, you make diamonds.
That's right.
Let's talk about something that you've done more recently. You played Detective Kane on the all-black network TV series called Kold and Windy.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Kold and Windy is about two female drill rappers from Chicago who pretty much they do what they rap, which is cause chaos, and they rap about the chaos and then they do the chaos. And then sometimes they do the chaos and then rap about the chaos. And it's part of this drill music culture where you kind of do what you rap about and then you post it, you live stream it, in the middle while you're doing it. And they kind of battle rap, that way with rival rappers, AKA ops. And so I play the detective who is pretty much trying to take down their empire, which I feel as though they're masking their criminal acts. The hip hop is masking their criminal acts. So it's about me trying to take them down as they do these things and make their music.
Is that fun for you playing a detective?
Yeah.
Being the hard-hitting detective?
It is. It's so funny because I had a little practice. Oddly, I wound up doing a little, maybe 5 or 6 months before I got cast for Kold and Windy, and it was playing the detective. So I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. I think I can maybe, do this in something else on a bigger scale. And then the opportunity came across the table and I was like, oh, wow, this is heavy. Okay, I can work with this. I asked for it. So now let's dive in and make it happen. Season 2 finale was last week. And so if you haven't had a chance to check it out. 2 seasons. Hoping we get a third. Yeah, it was a good season. It's shot in Atlanta, but the backdrop is Chicago. And a lot of talented people, the actors, the writers, the crew. I mean, just great folks. And I had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of fun.
What was the most challenging part of it for you?
Getting out of my head, pretty much. Like, because, when you're acting, you don't work all the time. Sometimes you do a project, a couple months go by, you do another project, it's different than the last project. So you have to constantly be preparing yourself, getting ready. And because I was like manifesting things that I wanted for myself that were starting to come to fruition, if you're going to ask for it and it comes, you need to be ready for it. So I'll pick up like a monologue and memorize it. I'll do tongue twisters and things of that nature. Or I'll read scripts and TV shows just to kind of stay in practice. I take classes. I have an acting coach. It was just about staying abreast with that stuff. And then when it happened, it was like, okay, now you got to use all of that stuff to see if this will work. Because for some actors, if you work all the time, it's almost like it's automatic. Like you kick into it. and you just kind of know what to do. So for me, it was like making sure I knew, okay, this is what you do when you get the script. This is what you do when, when you're halfway through the script, after you're done the script, this is what you do when you're with your scene partner. So we're just like constantly trying to remember to work those muscles and then to get on the set. And it's never how you envision it. So when you're on set, you're like, I'm going to go on set. It's going to be quiet. And then they're going to say, Fred, you're up. And then you go in. It's going to be quiet between you and your scene partner. You're going to rehearsal. You're going to have rehearse. And then you're going to do your lines. And then you're going to shoot. And then it's going to be fluid. Nah, it's like, oh, camera here, or we'll move the camera, lighting, blah, 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 blah. With just so many pieces and so much activity going on that it's like, okay, all right, we're set, camera set. All right, cool. You got the light. All right, boom. All right, Fred, you're up. So you then have to kind of settle into it. So it was about just reminding myself about that confidence and just, knowing that I had the tools and the talent and just to have fun with it. And that's once I kind of got around to like, yo, you're having fun. This is what you want to do. This is what you love to do. Then I just kind of fell into the character. Once I kind of got the first couple lines out and everybody was kind of like, it was almost like, and cut. And then you're looking like, is that the guy you wanted? Is that how you wanted him to sound? And they're like, oh, great. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, cool. This is the guy. This is Kane. Now give them this Kane and more from then on.
Out of the roles you've taken on as writer, director, producer, actor, songwriter, do you have a favorite? What aspects of the role resonate with you the most?
It kind of comes and goes because, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've been performing in some capacity and I didn't know that it was separate. I just knew that I wanted to write something I saw on Saturday Night Live or from a cartoon. I wrote it. I wrote something similar to it. I wrote dialogue or looked to find a way to do formatting and wrote it the way they did it, but in my voice. And then I just got my folks together and we just performed it. So I never saw it as being different parts. So I kind of like carry that because it was so pure to me and fun. I guess maybe you say acting because I guess I get to interact with a person. If I'm looking into the audience and I'm on stage, I get to see how the audience reacts. So I hear how the audience reacts because I had the love for all of it because that's how it came up. I just kind of kept them all contained together. But I'd maybe say acting.
Being a father of 3 daughters
Mhm.
with such a wide range of ages, 31, 18, and 5, how do you navigate the unique fatherhood with those ages?
You just do whatever they tell you to do.
Tell you to
That's
Good answer, Fred.
pretty much it's really that cut and dry.
Good
Like,
answer. That's it. Awesome.
Right? That's it. You just morph yourself into whatever that need is for that particular age range. Some days you interact with all 3 with different things, and literally your brain is going from 31 to 18 to 5 in like a half an hour, in 15 minutes sometimes. And it's bizarre and crazy and fun and exhausting. But but I love it.
Interesting time in Hollywood. There are stories of empty lots
Yeah.
because people are either filming outside the country, filming in other parts of the country like Atlanta,
Right.
or they're not producing as much because of streaming taking over. So, what do you think the future holds for film and TV, the industry in general, and especially with the current state of how things are? And throw in AI into the mix.
Ooh, yeah, it's rough. It's so odd because it's not what you would have expected, I guess. LA is such a bastion in the history of entertainment. Who would want to leave there? But when it comes to economics and budgets and new creative spaces and tax incentives, the heads and the studios are looking at other alternatives. You got a Tyler Perry himself and other investors that are like, oh, we can start our own studio as well because we figured out the formula of how it can work and come up maybe below the numbers that LA is offering. And it's working. And who knew the streaming services was going to be able to kind of capitalize off it as well, because it's about content and everybody needs content. And the sad part about it is, folks I know who I know work all the time. And I'm talking about not acting like cameramen and wardrobe people and craft service folks. And they're like, yo, stuff is dried up. I haven't had a client or a film or a movie in like 6 months. And it's so odd just hearing these stories. And, people are packing up and some are leaving to go to other places where, the action is kind of happening. And others are just, giving up. A lot of writers have just said, I'm good. They checked out too. And the strikes, the back-to-back strikes, the SAG strike, the writer's strike, the Directors Guild strike, just how they were all timed. It kept a lot of people out of work and they were never really able to get back in. Even when they did get the job, so much time was lost. Yes, it's really unfortunate, but it's about just trying to figure out how can I stay ahead of the times? If you're a creator, what's next? How can I find a way to move with what the industry is doing as a business and to try to do the best you can that way?
Do you think the art of acting and filmmaking as we know it is over now that AI is here?
It's scary because I've seen some of these companies and I've seen some of the stuff that they're able to do with AI, and it's like, whoa, like it's really hard to tell. I think with AI, you still can't get, at least now, full emotion. Like there's something in the eyes when you look at an actor, when you look at a Denzel, when you look at a Meryl Streep, there's something about this life that you can see in their eyes that I don't think AI is able to capture yet because it's not real. I do think that if they do go in that direction, because it seems like they're trying to find ways to get around using actors, especially now background actors and extras, but they're trying to find their way. But I think theater still is like that key thing that will kind of keep us kind of connected and grounded. It's hard to call it on the other side. AI is changing every day. So what we may have in a contract today about the industry and studios not using AI is different tomorrow because that wasn't created yesterday. We just created it today, and that's not in the contract. This is a new thing. Does that make sense? Because that's how fast it's like happening. The rules are changing every single day. And if we just did a contract about not allowing actors to be duplicated on Monday, oh, the terms and how we're doing it now is different on Tuesday. This thing wasn't created on Monday, it was created today. So it doesn't fall into that. Yeah, I think that people will probably start definitely heading back to theater if it goes that direction, because it's going in that direction. They're figuring it out because it's cheaper. And it's about that bottom line.
Makes me sad. Great actors like Denzel, like Meryl Streep,
Right. I think they're going to create those people at some point where we're just going to get so worn down and, we kind of laissez-faire with certain things anyway. I think that next generation is going to be kind of like, oh, yeah, I like Pete Jones. And Pete Jones is the new AI star because that generation now is used to that. So they're expecting that. And I think that it's a longer game.
Fred, no.
I know, but I think it's a longer game.
I don't want it.
That's so interesting, though. I think you're on to something there, for sure. I know, unfortunately. What have you learned from mentoring young filmmakers, and have any of your mentees taught you something that changed your perspective?
Just try to tell them to be diligent, be professional, be nice. Be nice to people. That's like one of my number one things. Is be nice and kind, because you never know when it's a small business. You should be nice to people anyway, regardless, in your daily life. But in this business, be nice and kind. I'm not saying kiss butt, be just respectful, because you may never know when that person may come around again or when you may need that person. Like the majority of the jobs I've gotten here, have not been from my resume. It's been from somebody I know, and they'll refer me. And then maybe my resume is maybe looked at after that, maybe. But the majority of the jobs, this is the guy right here, pretty much that's how a lot of people work. But I pass that on to people I mentor and just tell them to read, gotta read, stay abreast of the industry, really stay abreast of the industry now because of what's going on. Know your craft, know your value. And I guess learning from them that youthfulness and that innocence and fun of being green. Because, you get older, this thing becomes a job and focused, and you can get jaded because you're frustrated with certain things and you don't like how things work. And then you see them and they're kind of like, whoa, yeah. And I got my crew and 10 of us just moved out to LA and we all went to film school and we're making projects, and hearing those stories and them then sharing with me what they're shooting or working on is inspirational for me, because it's like, wow, yeah, that right there keeps me going. That youthfulness, it is fun. It's what you love to do. You didn't come out here to be famous. This is what I've done and I've always done in some capacity across the board. So I saw that I can make a career. Yes. So everything on top of that is, as we say, extra gravy. Just seeing them do movies. Like I had one student who years ago from high school, he's on his third Lifetime movie. Seeing that is like, wow. And him calling like, yo, what you think? Still asking like, what you mean what I think? Like, like, man, that's an honor right there. It's humbling because I'm learning from him as well too, because he's in a market that I'm not in. So I can always go to him to ask questions and find out who he's working with and how he got certain things done.
What is on your professional bucket list?
A book is on my bucket list. I used to write a whole lot when I was a teenager, a whole lot. And I had started a book, one of them composition books. And I was writing a book in this composition book. So it always kind of stuck with me, like, and then I kind of put it off. But when you think about it, you write these scripts, and I wrote so many scripts, that's a book. When you put all these scripts together, like that's different chapters in a book. This past year, I said, okay, this is something I definitely want to do. I found a lot of material that I had. I used to write a lot of poetry and I stopped writing poetry. I don't know why, just kind of life. I can't say life got in the way, because you're supposed to be writing. That's what you can be writing about. I just used that as this huge life getting away, and I just stopped. So I started going back to it, and then I brought out some old things that I had, and I was like, I can do some stuff with this. So that's one of the projects that I'm working on right now. Some sort of poetry / essay sort of book. I still want to do a feature that I wrote, not TV movie, theatrical feature. I've been very close. That's the thing about the film industry. You can come so close and it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. And I've been in a lot of situations where that project was about to be done and it just didn't get done. And, by the grace of God, a couple times, thank God it didn't get done by the people I was working with, because it could have been a disaster. You got to count your blessings. But yeah, feature is also something.
Next year's the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the campaign? Have they called you for a comeback? Is there anything in the works?
You know what? There's something in the air. There's something in the universe, because we did a campaign for COVID. When COVID hit, we got a call from Bud and they were like, hey, we want to do a COVID thing. And the same thing, they didn't want to change anything in the commercial. They was going to recut a couple of the commercials. They just wanted to change some of the dialogue. So we just did, voiceovers for it. But they ran a campaign for quarantine. And that was oddly out of the blue, clearly out of the blue. Recently, it's been a lot things in the air. I mean, I've been getting these DMs about, oh man, people been sending me the commercial. I've been approached about different things with the commercial. So, and I'm always coming up with something to pitch to Charles, like, hey, Charles, maybe we can do this. Or and Scott's same thing. He's pitching ideas. Paul's pitching ideas, and people, I know they approach Charles a lot. I've been trying to put it in the universe, because a lot of people just out of the blue have just been coming to me asking about it. God bless James Earl Jones. Somebody sent me him doing the Whassup the other day. And I was like, oh, how did I miss that? So little things like that has just been happening like within the past like couple months. So I'm like, okay, then it's in the air. It's in the universe. Then let's just keep plugging at it and we'll see. We'll see.
And our podcast is putting more
and your podcast
out there.
And I don't know who has something. We'll usually get a call every year right before the Super Bowl. And it's like, yo, can you, so Yeah, that happens like every year. Somebody will call us and say, do our show. We'll highlight you on our show or something. So there's things working. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not the AI Budweiser version of you.
Hopefully
No.
it's not there.
I was gonna say, what are the what's up guys after 25 years? What are they doing now?
Yeah.
What are the what's up guys doing 25 years?
Same thing. Drinking a bud, watching the game.
The kids are behind them.
Right? They have families, they have this, right? So they can
Yep.
maybe incorporate. I don't know.
Doing the same thing, but on the couch, watching the game.
Yeah, but we have a flat screens now. We have flat
screen
screens
now,
now.
right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we're wrapping up here. Where can our listeners learn more about you and your projects?
You can go to my IG, which is I am Fred Thomas Jr. Pretty much kind of have everything on there, and on my website, fredthomasjr215.com. That's where you'll find most of my work. Like I said, we got Kold and Windy. Last week was the finale. There's a film I'm in called The Proto Experiment, which I play one of the leads. It's a sci-fi horror that is releasing probably in the next few months. We shot it out here in LA. A short I just recently did that's also released. So you try to get these projects to hopefully line up all at the same time so they can kind of just, set you up for your next project.
Now it's time for speed round.
What is something you've done, felt, seen, etc., that you wish you could have experienced again for the first time?
Bali, visiting Bali.
If you could star in one movie that's already made, what movie would it be?
Shaft.
Yeah.
The first one or the second one?
The original, the first one.
The OG.
OG.
I teach a class in that blaxploitation cinema.
Oh,
I know
wow.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Joelle.
See what you find out? This podcast. Okay, so a stranger is inhabiting your body for the day. What are some tips that you'd give them?
4 sugars in your coffee, oat milk along with that. Romancing the Bean and the Black Elephant are the coffee spots to hang out and write and people watch.
Nice.
Think of the best teacher you had. What did they teach and why are they so special to you?
The best teacher I had, I would have to say Mr. Powers. He taught me to just be proud of who I am as a human being and as a talented person. Like you have an art, you have a talent, perform, read. He was a big reader. He would assign tons and tons of different novels, and just don't judge people. When you see and hear him, you're like, oh, he's the type, and he's none of who you would think he is. And he would have that conversation with us about don't judge people until you get to know them and who they are.
What are people not grateful enough for?
Each other. I don't think people realize how we need each other. And not just family, just, neighbors, just somebody walking down the street. I try to be, I guess you could say, be a good Samaritan. I just try to be a decent person and just try to help and just do basic stuff. I don't even see it as being helpful. It's just being a human. Just helping another human should just be a human instinct, and I just don't see enough of that, especially what's going on right now in the world, especially in this country.
Our last segment of the episode is called Question Down the Lane. This is where we ask our guest to give a question to the next guest. So I have a question from our last guest for you. That question is, if there was one positive word that you felt could change the world, just one word, what would that be? And why is that word so significant to you?
I would say love. We need to love each other and spread that love. We're just caught up in politics. We're caught up in a lot of things that are not helping us grow as human beings. A love for each other, a love for this planet. Like we need to love the planet. We need to, like, if you love bees and you love the bees, love the grass, love the air, it'll keep you from maybe trying to pollute. It'll keep you from trying to use plastics. It'll keep you from trying to kill a bee. Just being conscious of that, of loving each other and this planet. We need it.
It's been a great pleasure to talk to you again. And I remember our days fondly on the set of YBE.
Same here.
And let's not let it go too long before we all get together again.
Very true. Miss you guys. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you for considering me for this show. It was great seeing you guys and hanging out. Yeah, it seemed like yesterday, like I just saw you guys yesterday.
I know, Fred. It's great seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share Podcetera. And be sure to follow and like the series wherever you enjoy podcasts.
For Podcetera, I'm Renee Lego.
And I'm Joelle Ludovich. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.